Namaste. I do not have a big, theme prepared for today's yin practice. I really thought it would be a good thing just to kind of steep and relax in these deep stretches. So there's not going to be as much of a flow. Sometimes I add in like, sun salutations or a couple standing poses in the mix. We're going to be super grounded today. With that being said, you can make some of these restorative by using a bolster or a prop, so that you're building yourself up and not going so deep into the stretches. And another reminder, if you are arthritic, maybe in your low back or hips, and that's the area we're really going to be targeting today, if you find that these long held positions are getting to be a bit much, please know that you can, just kind of rock your torso up on the inhale and down on the exhale. You can come out and give your body a break and then enter back in. So it's not meant to be torturous. All right. There is a song that I played before the practice and then during Shavasana at the studio. I'm not going to play it here for you guys because if I do, it'll flag me for like copyright. But if you wanted to listen to a song in the beginning and the end, I was using the Beatles Because. And there's two versions of it. And there's one version that is more a cappella and it's just them singing. And that's the one I chose to play earlier. So if you wanted to look that up, and if you wanted to listen to that in this first pose we're going to be getting into, the first pose we're going to be, obviously in silence, and I'll use a little breath work to help you to get relaxed. When we go into the second side of it, which is basically flipping the feet the other direction, then you could play that song on the side if you want from your own home or office. Okay, let's get started. So someone asked me this question earlier today. Last week I was on a road trip and I had a lot of subs coming in to teach my classes. And one of the subs had said, keep a fist distance between your back and the bolster. And he was inquiring about that. And I was like, well, it's not necessarily concrete for each and every person. So I was telling him, for a number of years, I would bring a bolster all the way to the small of my back and roll over, and it felt great. And it actually feels really good right now, okay? But I discovered with the chiropractor, I have a degenerative disc, right? This happens as we age. And there are some days where I roll over a bolster the same way I've always done it, and I get a little twinge in my low back. So that's when I know I need to come up, I need to push the bolster back to get that little bit of space. And then I'm more supported in my back ribs and obviously the cervical portion of the spine. So it really is individualistic. So personalize your practice. One other thought that can help is sitting on top of a folded blanket and then folding over. So once you release into your back bend, we're going to add in some hip work. So separate your feet wide. Slide your left foot in towards your pubic bone, and then your right foot will be located in front of that. So it's really like a Siddhasana, and that's a pose we worked on a lot a few weeks ago. So once you're in Siddhasana, check in with your hips. If you feel like, oh my goodness, this is a lot, you may want a tossed pillow, blanket, or a block to stack up underneath your knees. So take your time getting settled and discover if anything else needs more support. And if so, provide it. Then I want you just to take a moment to notice your outer senses. Perhaps noticing any traffic outside, any planes flying overhead. Perhaps now hearing some things happening in your home or office. Perhaps the humming of some electronics, the sound of the AC system kicking on or turning off. You might even notice your inner voice. And without opening the eyes, just picture the room that you're in, the direction you're facing. And then send your gaze towards your third eye, the midpoint of your brow. And you may even notice flashes or images popping up in your mind. Pay attention to your mouth and any taste that you're currently experiencing in your mouth. Maybe even noticing, is your mouth wet or dry? Bitter or sweet? And turning your attention to your mouth, you might notice it beginning to salivate. And if that's the case, just swallow. Clean that palate. And then turn your attention to your sense of smell. Maybe you catch an aroma stemming from the kitchen. Maybe you're wearing cologne or perfume. Maybe you have a pet next to you that you can smell. Now continue to refine your breath. This passageway where we receive smells. Increase the air supply that you're drawing into your system. And equally, put a little effort in your exhalation. Now for the remainder of the time on this side, just breathe in a conscious way. Now extend your legs back out, fan them wider than your mat, and we'll take it to the other side. Draw your right foot in first, and then your left in front of that. Just that different crossing of the feet may change what you're sensing and feeling in your lower body. So you may need to add or remove props. Stay active with your breath work. But this time as you're breathing, go into the sense of touch. feeling your clothing around your skin, the pillow underneath your back. And then whatever emotion you're feeling inside. And then if you want to play that Beatles song, Because, this would be the time. Inhale. Let's slowly start to lift the knees and separate the feet to either edge of the mat. And go through the windshield wide twist, dropping the knees to one side as you breathe out and lifting the knees up as you breathe in. And you're just going to move very slowly, rocking them 3 times side to side. And after that sequence, you can roll over and build yourself up to a comfortable seat. All right, the bolster can go to the side, although we may need it a little bit later. Your left leg is going to extend out, and your right foot is going to be to the inside of the knee. So we're not drawing it all the way up to the thigh. It's actually down at the knee. So this is half butterfly. If you have slipped a herniated disc, when you lift your arms, you're going to flex the foot, and then you're going to be straight back. If you can be truly yin, if you have a healthy spine, go ahead and lift up energetically. And as you exhale, you're going to rain and round down over the extended leg. Now, the foot can kind of flop. The knee can relax if you're doing yin. Your palms can turn open, and your head can bow. Now remember again, we don't necessarily want to go to our full edge of flexibility. So if your full edge is way down here, you want to shy away from that. For the simple reason we're holding it longer, and that sensation may wax or wane depending on the day. And then we want to breathe calmly and calmly breathe. If your mouth is tightening, separate the two rows of teeth. Let your tongue float in the middle of the mouth and let your lips just ever so slightly part. So what I meant earlier, if you're arthritic in these areas, you could actually flex the foot, keep the belly firm, and you would be inhaling here and exhale, rock forward. And you can just do a moving breathing meditation, inhaling up, exhaling down. So basically, you could turn it into a little bit of mini yoga therapy. On your next inhale, let's turn the palms down, walk the hands in, and restack the spine. We're going to stay on this left side. So we're going to take the leg to the left side of the mat, and we're going to pull the right foot in a little closer. As you inhale, lift up. As you exhale, you're going to hinge forward. So this is where the bolster could potentially come into play. You can lean it here and rest on your brow. You could also have Stonehenge or the bolster flat on the floor to bring it closer to you if you go about halfway. And then if you're more limber, you can take it closer to the floor, but I wouldn't flatten all the way down. Just because, again, we don't want to go to 100% of our edge. And then I suggest closing the eyes for a more inward experience. There are a couple of these poses today that may be a little unsettling and uncomfortable. But is it possible to sit with the discomfort? Just like we have to sit and deal with discomfort in life. And if we can maintain that state of calm relaxation, then we're less apt to react. So this can be a training. Patient with your body, patient with yourself. This one to me is a little bit more intense than half butterfly because I feel more happening in my inner thigh than I did in my hamstrings in that previous pose. And so that's where your breath can be of great assistance. The breath will bring you patience to sit with it. And the breath can help us to relax more into it so that the tension unravels. On your next inhale, let's go ahead and begin to lift out of this. And we're actually going to move towards a sleeping swan, unless you need deer or half pigeon. All right, so just to show you half pigeon, your left shin will come out in front and your right foot here beside the hip. Deer pose, your knee is further out and you can even flip to the inside of the foot. This foot can be drawn in so it's not as deep in the hip, and you can fold over this way, okay? So half pigeon deer, or you can bring the pelvis to line it up parallel to the floor, have the knee angled off to the left side of the mat, being on the front part of the right leg, and finding your edge of flexibility here. Even though this pose is called sleeping swan, we're trying to avoid sleep. We can mimic sleep by being in stillness and having the eyes closed and being motionless. But to stay focused and alert and awake, you can send your drishti towards your third eye. Breathing softly and softly breathing. Just a few more. Remember, you can always back up if it becomes too much, and you can always sink down if your body is asking for more. All right, let's slowly come up. And we're going to lean onto that left hip. We're going to pick up the right foot and catch it with your hand and see if you can create fire log or what's called double pigeon. If this just hurts, take your right foot over to the floor and it'll work just the same. All right, so we're gonna first take the hands down beside the hips, push through the fingertips, lift through the heart. And then I want you to turn your fingers to face behind you so that you can roll the shoulders back, open the chest and throat, and take 3 big breaths. And when you're ready, bring the hands out in front and start to figure out where you want to be in it, right? So if you're taller, right, this could work. Halfway down, but you want something to rest on here in front. Or just spilling down. You may feel this burning, kindling in the outer hip and moving into the buttocks. I want you to consider how we tend to hold emotion in our hips. Think of this fire building and burning and dissolving that away. And if you needed that rocking motion, I would suggest maybe being stacked on the hands. And then exhale, bend the arms and bow. Inhale, slowly straightening the arms. And exhale, slowly taking the bow. And just being super mindful of slowing down the breath. This is meant to be yin. Because yin is meant to be sloth-like, slow moving. And slowly begin to exit out, because that one can be pretty intense. When you back away, your left foot will slide over as you extend the right leg, and we'll start all over on this side. So remember, flexion, lengthening, if you have a history of herniated disc. Otherwise, the foot can flop, the arms can float high, and then you can rain and round down. So we are actually in what is called a portal from the end of July to the midpoint of August for what's called the Lion's Gate that typically happens on 8/8. And so it's a time where you think about the qualities of the Leo. You know, where's your passion? Um, where is your love being shown? How are you showing up in the world? Are you being courageous? So if you've been feeling like the winds of change are coming or you're wanting to switch things up, this could be a good time to meditate on it. And the legs are what propel us forward into action. Finding resistance in your mind or body, try taking the exhalation to a double count. Breathing calmly, calmly breathe. All right, when you're ready, let's walk it back in. And we're going to send the right leg out. Pull the left foot in a little closer if that's okay for the knee. Oh, and I meant to mention, you know, if you needed a prop underneath that knee, you could add it. Lift up energetically. Use the prop of the bolster if you want, or come on down. Approach it with sincerity and integrity. Patience with your body, patience with yourself. inhale, let's slowly begin to back away. All right, when we back away, we're gonna swap, right? So the left leg extends out, the right foot pulls in. And this is where you can determine, hey, half pigeon, deer pose, or the sleeping swan. So yogi's choice. And now inhale, let's begin to lift our way up. We'll lean onto the right thigh, left foot will come around, catch that heel, and double stack the shins, even if that knee's cranked up. I'm gonna turn this way. because I want you to see this. You know, if that foot needs to go to the floor, that's fine. But remember, when we press through the fingertips and extend the vertebrae, the hip may actually open more. And then turn the fingertips to face behind you, shoulders roll back, chest lifts up, head leans back. Take a few deep breaths. And then on the out breath, you're going to come forward and down. Again, you can have the bolster under your head, propped with the arms, or sinking all the way. Now, for this type of pose that kind of stirs things up a little bit more, I like to add in the pranayama, the ujjayi breath, not where it's very loud, um, but just soft so that I can hear it like a whisper, and it gives me something to meditate on. We're gently coming up. And we're going to unhook those legs and send them behind us to be in tabletop. Then walk your hands just a step farther. Curl the toes, lift up, down dog. And then from downward facing dog, we're going to do a little action with our feet. So as you inhale, lift up to your toes. And as you exhale, drop thoroughly down through your heels. And you're just doing that several rounds, very slowly though. Use your breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale, drop. Few more. Try not to rush it. Try not to go too quickly. Now go ahead and set your knees to the floor. Untuck your toes. Check in to see if you need that extra padding. And we're just going to slip and slide the arms down and sink down towards the chest and chin. So perhaps maybe it's your shoulders that are the arthritic area. If that's the case, it may be better to hold puppy, right? So where you're suctioning in through the belly, lifting through your ribs. Or you can even lift to puppy and drop to melting heart and do that with repetition. Thighs stay perpendicular to the floor. Elbows can rest. So we're ending with 3 inversions today: down dog, melting heart, and thread the needle. So let's go ahead and inhale, slide the hands back. Round it to catch stretch for a counter. Inhale, neutralize the back. Flip your left palm and thread it underneath the right arm as you drop to the left ear. Now you can be active or passive. So if you push into your right hand, you can keep the belly drawing in. Or you can flatten down to your left cheek and drop your right forearm. Totally different approach, different intention. So just do what feels best. The right hand slides in, power it down to come up. Flip your right hand, thread it through, and drop to your right ear. Suction in and push into the left hand if you want action, or flatten down if you want to be passive. All right, slide your left hand closer, power down to come up. And we are ready to relax. So I'm going to take the bolster under my legs. You can create any pose of your liking. So when you figure out what position you want to take, close the eyes, melt into it, and then just ensure your mind and body agree that this is the right one. You want them to be in sync, and hopefully they are more naturally in sync and unified at this point in the practice. Take a few deep breaths in and out through your nose to settle in. And I am going to play this. Hopefully you guys can hear it. Because the world is round, it turns me on. Because the world is round.
Because the wind is high. Love is all, love is you. Love is all, love is you. Because the sky is blue, it makes me cry. Because the sky is blue. Drop it back into the silence. Turning your senses inward. Deepen the flow of the breath. Begin to awaken the hands and feet. Start to exit out of the pose that you chose. And then join me in a comfortable seat. And we'll close out our practice. Bringing your hands to Anjali Mudra. I hope that this practice has reminded you to stay patient with yourself, patient with your body. Hope this practice has created some purification for your mind and body so that you feel more home and at free in your mind, your body, and your heart. The light within me honors and bows to the same in each of you. Namaste.